Picture this. You're at a family barbecue. Someone proudly announces they've just paid off their house. Everyone cheers, glasses are raised, and you can almost feel the pride radiating from them. It's the dream we were all taught to chase. Own your home, burn the mortgage papers, and finally sleep in peace. But across the table, there's a quiet smile from the wealthiest person there. They don't clap too loudly. They don't envy the achievement. Because they know something the others don't. That celebrating a paid-off house might actually mean celebrating financial prison. What if I told you the very thing you were raised to believe? That owning your home is the ultimate sign of security, is one of the most dangerous financial myths of our time. For decades, people have been repeating the same mantra: buy a house, pay it off, and you'll be safe. But the truth is, times have changed. The economy we live in today is nothing like the one our parents or grandparents knew. Back then, interest rates were high, savings paid real returns, and owning your home was one of the only ways to build wealth. Today, that same dream can lock you into a life of missed opportunities, trapped capital, and financial stress you didn't expect. Here's the paradox. Millionaires, the people who could afford to buy 10 houses in cash, often choose to rent. Not because they're irresponsible, not because they can't buy, but because they understand a principle most people miss. Liquidity is power, flexibility is freedom, and a house that ties up hundreds of thousands of dollars in 4 walls is not security. It's a silent thief of wealth. By the end of this video, you'll see why renting isn't weakness, and why, for those who understand money, it's often the smartest choice you can ever make. For generations, we've been told the same story. Your parents told you, your grandparents believed it. Movies, books, and politicians repeated it like gospel. Own your home, and you'll never have to worry again. It was sold to us as the ultimate dream, the American dream, the golden ticket to security, status, and success. A paid-off home meant freedom, peace of mind, and the guarantee that no matter what happened, you had a roof over your head. But here's the uncomfortable truth. That dream was built for a world that no longer exists. Back in the 1970s and 80s, interest rates were sky high. Mortgages often above 12%, sometimes even 18%. Savings accounts paid 5 to 10%. Real estate wasn't just shelter, it was a powerful investment vehicle. Back then, it made sense to sacrifice for ownership, because your house grew in value faster than almost anything else you could invest in, and paying off that loan saved you from the crushing burden of outrageous interest. But today, the game has changed, and most people haven't updated their playbook. They're still chasing their grandfather's dream in their grandson's economy. Mortgage rates are lower than historic highs, but property prices have exploded beyond reason. Savings accounts barely keep up with inflation. Investment opportunities, stocks, businesses, digital assets have outperformed housing by a wide margin. Yet people cling to the same outdated advice. Just buy a home, pay it off, and you'll be set for life. Here's the irony. What was once smart is now one of the most dangerous financial traps. Owning a home today doesn't guarantee wealth. In fact, for many, it's a slow bleed. Property taxes rise, insurance costs skyrocket, repairs are endless, new roofs, plumbing disasters, heating systems that collapse in the middle of winter. Every dollar tied up in those walls is a dollar that isn't working for you, a dollar that could be invested, compounding, and building real financial freedom. The illusion goes even deeper. People say, at least when you own, you're not throwing money away on rent. But what they forget is this: you're always paying rent. The question is, to whom? When you own a home, your rent is property tax, maintenance, insurance, interest, and the silent cost of locking up your wealth in bricks that don't produce income. It feels safer because the payment has a different name, but the drain on your finances is very real. And then comes the emotional trap. Ownership is marketed as an achievement, a badge of honor. Families throw mortgage-burning parties, neighbors congratulate you, and society praises you for being responsible. But responsibility isn't about following tradition. It's about understanding the numbers. The wealthy smile quietly at those celebrations because they know what's really happening. That freedom is an illusion. That pride comes at the cost of flexibility, liquidity, and opportunity. The world has shifted, the economy has shifted, but the story we tell ourselves hasn't. We're still trying to win a game that doesn't exist anymore. And that's why so many hard-working, responsible people end up house rich but cash poor. They own the walls, but when life throws a curveball, medical bills, job loss, family emergencies, they have no liquidity, no flexibility, no real freedom. The illusion of home ownership is powerful because it's emotional. It feels safe. It feels permanent. It feels like success. But feelings don't pay the bills, and feelings don't build wealth. Numbers do. And the numbers today tell a very different story than the one you were raised on. That's why millionaires who could buy outright with ease often choose to rent. They understand that the true measure of security isn't how much of your money is locked in four walls. It's how much of your money is free to move, adapt, and grow. If renting were really throwing money away, as most people believe, then why do millionaires and billionaires, people who could easily buy several homes in cash, often choose to rent instead? The answer is simple. They see money differently. For them, a house isn't a trophy of success, but a strategic resource. And here's the paradox. True freedom doesn't come from the walls you own, but from the cash you keep free to move. Let's break down the 5 reasons why the wealthy rent when almost everyone else is obsessed with owning. 1. Cash in hand is freedom. Imagine you have $500,000. You could lock it all into a house, letting that money sit quietly inside bricks and drywall. Or you could put that same capital to work in assets that generate returns every single month. Most people think the first option is responsible. But the wealthy know the opposite. When cash is tied up in a house, it's asleep. And sleeping money can't grow. Cash in hand means freedom. It's the power to respond to life instantly. It's the ability to jump on a new investment opportunity, expand a business, help a child with college, or cover a medical emergency without begging a bank for approval. A house may look beautiful, but it won't pay your bills when life turns unpredictable. The wealthy understand that freedom is never about walls. It's about keeping your capital awake, available, and ready to work. 2. The hidden cost of missed opportunity. Every dollar you spend paying down a mortgage is a dollar you're not investing somewhere else. That's the silent cost most homeowners never calculate. Take Sarah, a 52-year-old teacher with $200,000 in savings. She considered paying off her mortgage early to be debt-free. On paper, it sounded smart. She would save around $130,000 in interest over 15 years. But here's the twist. Had she invested that $200,000 instead in a balanced portfolio, earning just 7% annually, she'd walk away with $550,000 after the same 15 years. By trying to save $130,000, she gave up $350,000 in growth. That's not financial wisdom. That's financial sabotage, disguised as responsibility. The rich don't make decisions based on emotion or cultural myths. They calculate the opportunity cost. They know the real trap isn't paying rent. It's missing out on growth while you're busy sinking money into walls. 3. Flexibility is power. Home ownership may feel permanent, but that permanence is also a trap. The world changes faster than we think. Jobs shift, markets collapse, families need help, or maybe you simply want a new lifestyle. Renters can move in weeks. Homeowners are chained to transaction costs, market cycles, and long-selling timelines. Take the professional who gets a sudden career opportunity abroad. If they own a home, selling might take months, and if the market is down, they're stuck taking a loss. A renter, they can pack and go. That flexibility is worth millions over a lifetime, because it allows you to adapt to opportunities instead of being trapped by your past decisions. The wealthy protect their freedom of movement. Renting isn't about weakness, it's about keeping the ability to pivot when life demands it. 4. Protection from invisible costs. Owning a home comes with a silent list of bills that renters never think about until they experience it. Property taxes, insurance, roof replacements, plumbing disasters, termites, landscaping, rising HOA fees. The average homeowner spends between 1% to 4% of their home's value on maintenance every year. On a $400,000 home, that's $4,000 to $16,000 gone every single year. Renters? They simply call the landlord. The wealthy know it's not just about saving money, it's about saving energy, attention, and time. Every hour spent fighting with a contractor or worrying about repairs is an hour not spent earning, growing, or enjoying life. Renting transfers that burden to someone else. Ownership locks it onto your shoulders. 5. The inflation advantage. This is the part almost no one talks about. With a fixed mortgage, inflation eats away at the value of your payment over time. That sounds good if you own. But what happens when you've sunk all your capital into paying off that house early? You miss the biggest gift inflation gives, making borrowed money cheaper every single year. Meanwhile, renters who invest their cash elsewhere are often positioned better. Why? Because instead of burying their wealth in a house, they're putting it into assets that rise with inflation, stocks, businesses, even real estate funds. While the average homeowner is house rich but cash poor, the wealthy renter is liquid, diversified, and using inflation to their advantage. These 5 reasons boil down to one principle. The wealthy don't chase the illusion of security. They chase control, flexibility, and growth. They know that being debt-free doesn't equal being financially free. They know that a house may provide shelter, but it doesn't provide opportunities. Renting isn't about avoiding responsibility. It's about choosing a different kind of responsibility, the responsibility to grow, adapt, and keep money moving. The middle class buys walls, the wealthy buy freedom. Why do so many people cling so tightly to the idea of owning a home? It's not because the numbers prove it's the best move. It's because owning feels good, it feels safe, it feels like achievement. And that's exactly why it can be so dangerous. For decades, society has conditioned us to see a paid-off home as a badge of honor. Parents dream of throwing a mortgage-burning party. Friends and neighbors congratulate you when you announce, "I finally own my home outright." It's celebrated as the ultimate milestone of responsibility, maturity, and success. But beneath all that pride, there's a trap that few ever notice, making one of the biggest financial decisions of your life, not with logic, but with emotion. Here's the paradox. People rush to pay off their home so they can sleep better at night. Yeah, but I've spoken to dozens of retirees in their 60s with fully paid off homes, and many of them confess they feel no peace at all. Why? Because they're house rich, cash poor. They have walls, but they don't have options. When an emergency strikes, a medical bill, a broken roof, or a family crisis, they realize their freedom is locked inside bricks. They can't swipe their walls at the grocery store. They can't sell a bathroom to cover hospital bills. They can't access their wealth without begging a bank for approval or selling the very house they fought so hard to own. That's not peace. That's vulnerability dressed up as security. The wealthy understand this instinctively. They don't chase the emotional satisfaction of owning outright. They chase control. They value flexibility. They know that real peace doesn't come from eliminating every debt. It comes from having cash flow, liquidity, and investments that work while you sleep. A paid-off house may silence your fears for a moment, but it also silences your opportunities for decades. Think about Mike, a 64-year-old homeowner from Chicago. 3 years after paying off his mortgage, his furnace collapsed in the dead of winter. A few months later, his roof started leaking. At the same time, his adult son lost his job and needed help. Mike had $400,000 in home equity, but not a single dollar he could quickly access without loans or complicated refinancing. His story isn't rare, it's a warning. The error of property ownership is not the house itself, it's the emotional weight we attach to it. We mistake pride for strategy. We confuse the feeling of accomplishment with the reality of financial strength. But emotions don't pay bills, and pride doesn't compound interest. This doesn't mean you should never own. It means you should own with your eyes open, with strategy, not nostalgia. A house is shelter, not a savings account. It's comfort, not cash flow. And if you let emotions drive your decisions, you may end up with the very opposite of what you wanted. Walls you can't spend, equity you can't touch, and stress you can't escape. The wealthy smile quietly when others boast about paying off their homes, not because they don't understand the pride, but because they know the price of that pride. They know the emotional trap of ownership is powerful, but also dangerous. Real security doesn't come from the walls around you, it comes from the options in front of you. If renting is not weakness but strategy, the natural question is, how do you actually do it right? Because let's be honest, renting without discipline can be just as dangerous as buying blindly. The key is to flip the mindset. Don't rent because you have no choice. Rent because you want maximum choice. The difference is massive. Wealthy people don't just rent. They rent with a framework that transforms flexibility into long-term financial strength. Here are the 4 steps of the Smart Renters framework. Step 1. Spend less than 30% of your income on rent. This isn't just a financial rule, it's a discipline rule. The moment rent starts eating 40%, 50% or more of your take-home pay, you've already lost your freedom. Wealthy renters understand that housing is just one piece of their financial puzzle, not the whole board. By keeping rent capped at 30%, they guarantee room for the things that actually build wealth: investments, businesses, and opportunities. Think of it this way: the walls you live in don't need to show your wealth. Your balance sheet should. The person who rents modestly and invests aggressively will always outpace the person who overpays for a home just to impress. Step 2. Invest the difference religiously. Here's the most important rule. Renting is only powerful if you do something with the money you save by not owning. Millionaires don't rent just to enjoy cheaper monthly payments. They rent so that every extra dollar goes straight into assets that grow. Stocks, index funds, real estate investment trusts, businesses. This is where the magic happens. The math is undeniable. Even a conservative 6 to 7% return will crush the savings of paying off a mortgage early. But the catch is consistency. It's not about investing once in a while. It's about turning investing into a routine, like brushing your teeth. Rent may be an expense, but investing turns that expense into leverage. Step 3. Maintain 1 year of rent in liquid savings. This is the secret that makes renting feel safe instead of stressful. Too many people think renting leaves them vulnerable to the landlord or the market. But wealthy renters flip the script by keeping at least a year of rent payments in cash or ultra-liquid assets. This sleep-at-night fund is what protects them from job loss, medical bills, or economic downturns. It's the same principle as owning a house without the burden. When you know you could cover a full year of rent without blinking, your landlord has no power over you, the market has no power over you, and fear disappears. Freedom is not owning 4 walls, it's owning time and choices. Step 4. Review and adjust annually. The world changes fast, markets shift, interest rates move, your life circumstances evolve. That's why wealthy renters don't set it and forget it. Once a year they sit down and run the numbers. Is the rent still under 30% of income? Are investments outperforming housing appreciation? Is the emergency fund intact? This simple checkup ensures the strategy always matches reality. If conditions change, the plan adapts. That flexibility is the entire point of renting in the first place. The Smart Renters framework isn't about rejecting ownership forever. It's about refusing to be trapped by outdated traditions. It's about turning rent from a dead expense into a conscious choice that fuels growth, freedom, and resilience. While others are emotionally attached to their four walls, the smart renter is building invisible wealth that compounds quietly in the background. And here's the irony. In the end, the renter who follows this framework will often have more cash, more investments, more flexibility, and yes, more real security than the homeowner who thought they were being responsible. Because responsibility isn't about following old rules. It's about writing smarter ones. At the end of the day, this conversation isn't really about renting versus buying. It's about how you define wealth. For most people, wealth has been packaged into a single outdated image. A big house with no mortgage, a picket fence, and the pride of finally owning. But if you strip away the emotions, if you run the numbers, if you think in terms of freedom instead of tradition, you'll see something shocking. Owning walls does not mean owning your life. Real wealth is not four walls you can't spend. Real wealth is not a house that traps hundreds of thousands of dollars inside it while you scramble to pay bills. Real wealth is freedom, the ability to adapt, to move, to choose, and to say yes or no without fear. The wealthy know this. That's why they don't rush to kill their mortgages. That's why many of them rent even when they could buy 10 homes in cash. They understand a principle most people never learn. Control is greater than possession. You don't win the money game by owning everything. You win by controlling your money so it works for you, not the other way around. Think about it. The family who pays off their house early might feel proud for a season. But when life throws a curveball, a medical bill, a sudden move, a child in need, that pride doesn't pay the bill. That pride doesn't create cash flow. That pride doesn't protect them from reality. Meanwhile, the family who rents strategically, invests consistently, and keeps money working in the background may never have a mortgage-burning party. But they will have something far more valuable: choices. And choices are the true currency of freedom. The great trap of ownership is emotional. We chase the feeling of safety instead of building the reality of it. We mistake pride for strategy. We confuse tradition with truth. But real security isn't about eliminating every debt. It's about having the flexibility to handle whatever life throws at you. Real freedom is not locking your wealth inside bricks. It's keeping it alive, moving, and multiplying. The question is no longer, should I pay off my home, or should I buy instead of rent? The smarter question is, will this decision give me more control, more flexibility, and more freedom tomorrow than I have today? That's the shift. That's the philosophy. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Renting isn't weakness. Renting with strategy is one of the clearest paths to true wealth. Wealth measured not in walls, but in freedom. Because in the end, the richest person isn't the one who owns the most property. It's the one who owns their time, their choices, and their future. Now that you've seen the truth behind the illusion, I want to hear from you. Do you still believe owning a home is the ultimate symbol of security, or has this changed the way you see renting? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. If you're ready to challenge the old rules, type freedom down there. If you still think ownership is the safer path, type ownership. I read every single response, and your perspective not only helps me shape future videos, It might just inspire someone else who's struggling with the same decision. Remember, the goal isn't to follow tradition blindly. The goal is to build real wealth, wealth measured in freedom, choices, and peace of mind. Renting with strategy might be the smartest move you ever make, but I want to know what you think. And if this video opened your eyes, make sure you hit the like button, subscribe, and share it with a friend who's still chasing the dream of ownership without ever questioning the cost. Together, we can rewrite what financial security really looks like. Because true wealth isn't about owning walls, it's about owning your future.